Are we live? Are we live? Let us know if we are live because we are on the bus. It is hot on the bus, too. We just got done interviewing Arch Stapleton, and we want to talk to you about the Giants training camp day 2. Way more eventful, which means we need to be live for people to talk about it. So let us know if we are live because I want to talk about Russell Wilson, Abdul Carter. We split Abdul Carter on the thumbnail. I thought we might have to wait for shoulder pads to come on to do that. Didn't have to do that. So let us know if we are live. The people are saying we are live. I am Bobby Skinner. This is Giants Nation here with Ryan Novozinsky of NJ.com. Day 2 of Giants training camp.
You know why it's hot in here, right? Because of the fiery performance that Nick Jones just put on.
And the sun. And the sun. Nick Jones and the sun. They're like one and the same at this point. Fun practice, right? Yesterday they very limited, hour and a half. Didn't do a ton of team drills. Today, I mean, Russell Wilson threw the ball 15 times. Dart threw it 8. Both threw the ball more. They were doing more things with Abdul Carter. We always start with the offense first on these. Russell Wilson went 9 of 15, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And even the 1 interception, it counts. But that was, Russell Wilson hit Wan'Dale Robinson on this slot fade on this concept that they love to run, but they have never really thrown the slot fade to Wan'Dale Robinson or even put him in the position to run that route. They'd usually have him on the little, the shorter route, a part of that concept. And Russell Wilson hits him, nice ball. Wan'Dale makes a nice catch against Andrew Phillips. And then they go for the 2-point conversion the next play. And you got to force a throw. If it's not there, 2-point conversion ends up throwing an interception to Drew Phillips.
Russell Wilson proved once again why Brian Daboll yesterday said unequivocally he is the starting quarterback. He is the best quarterback, as if that's any surprise at all. But, he quelled any doubts of that today and yesterday. Russell Wilson, it's clear he's the starter. It's clear why he's the starter. He has a pretty good command of the offense, and we've only seen a limited bit of the offense. We've only seen pretty much the red zone stuff, the check down stuff, which has kind of been his bread and butter. And even when pressure's on him, he's able to scramble around. He's a little bit more athletic than I thought he was going to be at 36 years old. Yeah, Russell Wilson's pretty darn good. He's if they had an easier schedule, if and maybe a little bit more talent, I would say he could probably keep them afloat. But we'll see. We'll get to my record prediction at some point.
Yeah, I think that yours will be the last of camp. And with Russ, it is like a very big change for the Giants. It's a different starting quarterback for the first time since 2019 when Eli was the starter in training camp. And then Jones took the reins pretty quickly. It's not like anything crazy, right? He's not out here making these throws like, oh my gosh, off his back foot. And one, they're not even given the opportunities to do that because day 1 red zone. Today they mostly work like 40 in 1 minute drill type stuff, or it seemed that's like what they were doing. But it's just like he's taking the aggressive throws when they're there, right? The deep pass to Wan'Dale Robinson, hit Malik Nabers on a deep pass as well. Had a nice red zone throw to Daniel Bellinger for a touchdown, which I thought was, my favorite play, just being, bang, bang type of throw. And then he's not taking a ton of like sacks where a lot of times in these training camp practices, Novo, it's like that completed this pass, but it would have been a sack. He gets so many of those. I'm sure there's some with Russ, but I think it's pretty limited. And it's not to say that he's not going to take sacks. He does take a lot of sacks. Usually leads the league in sack rate. But like he's kind of just like, hey, I'm going to fire it in with aggression. If it's not there, check down, which I guess has been the Russ playbook over the last few years.
I feel like too, even in the one-on-ones and everything like that, you can kind of see it. There's an effable difference between Russ's ball and the other quarterback's ball, obviously, right? Like he's just a more talented quarterback. He's been a more consistent quarterback than all of them in all their careers, however young or old they are. I could tell that too. I mean, just looking back and thinking back to that Steelers game last year where the Giants played them. I forget who had the long moonball touchdown.
Calvin Austin.
Calvin Austin, yeah.
Another small slot wide receiver.
Yeah, that's right. I just remember seeing that and just thinking, man, I think if Russell Wilson was on last year's Giants, I think things would have been a little different.
Well, and Drew Phillips just be like, I'm just must hate having to go against Russell Wilson. That's the only 2 touchdowns I think I've seen him give up. This one in and training camp and then last year. So again, there's nothing crazy to tell you about Russell Wilson. It's just like he's got command of the offense. He's aggressive when it's there. When it's not, he gets to his checkdowns. There's really not these big mistakes that you see from Russell Wilson. Let's hit the Jackson Dart segment of the day. 3 for 8, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I do the Patreon write-ups every day and kind of wanted to flesh out my thoughts on Dart a little bit, where yesterday I feel like I was, still a little, stir crazy after the hectic wheel that we had. We talked all spring and after the draft and like, hey, he's going to sit, he's about getting better and getting ready. Well, this is the reason why, because right now he's not good. Like he's just looked flat out bad. Did have the touchdown, the high today, but this is what it looks like for a quarterback that needs to sit. It's not like, oh, he needs to sit, but also he's going to be awesome in the interim. Like he needs to sit. And because right now he's not going to be a good NFL quarterback. What I would like to see out of Jackson Dart as this camp goes along, and I said this on the Arch Stapleton interview for tomorrow's podcast, is I want to see him be just quicker with his decisions, even if they're bad decisions. I don't want to see bad decisions, but just be quicker, because right now it just feels like he's holding onto the ball forever, and it's not like, oh, he's a half tick late. No, it feels like he's 1-2 beats late. Even on 7-on-7, he can be like that. Or the touchdown today was a quick decision, right? They had a free rusher, but that's like hey, you have to make a quick decision type of play. And it was a good throw to Jalen Hyatt back shoulder catch. But it just feels like he's just a good bit just holding on to the ball. I just want to see him make quicker decisions, even if they're not the right decisions as camp goes along.
Listen, and if the Giants had, a unbelievable offensive line, perhaps he could take that amount of time. But no, you're right. You're totally right. You can see the indecisiveness with him. You can see just how long he holds onto the ball. You're almost like screaming, like, dude, come on, like make a decision there. And sometimes he doesn't go through all of his reads. He's almost overthinking all of his reads too. You got to see more. You want to see more quick decisions like the Hyatt pass. But again, like you said, with that free rusher coming up, he pretty much was forced into that.
But which, like, I feel like Dart, now you're not going to get the free rusher plays, but I feel like he can learn from that. It's like, hey, listen, you had to make a quick decision, and look, it was your best play by far of training camp, especially in team drill where he's only had 4 completions. One was scrambling to his left. I can't remember what the other one was today.
Even with the Theo Johnson touchdown yesterday, it was like, it was a
gimmicky play,
and it was a dangerous ball to throw, like kind of in the red zone there.
Yeah, it was like a kind of a gimmicky play, and Theo had to reach up for it. But again, it's just I just want to see him make quick decisions again, because they're going to be wrong, but you gotta be able to do that. Because if you're just sitting there like and that was one of my worries at Dart at Ole Miss, is not like, it's just like, it's first read is not going to always be there, or sometimes the first read is there, but it's not easy, right? Sometimes it's, the first read is a 5-yard little hitch, and there's a nickel corner right here. There's an outside linebacker right here, and you got to get it perfectly timed in there. And it feels like he's just not comfortable with those types of throws yet. So again, first 2 days, Dart's we're not talking about a quarterback who's getting ready to play week 1. If this was, Cam Ward, who they had drafted, and this was the plan, he's got to sit. I just want to see him make quicker decisions. I'm not expecting him to be good at all in this training camp, but I just want to see him get quicker decisions as he goes along.
If this were Jackson Dart taken with the 3rd pick, the alarm bells would go off, right? Like that would be it. But this is, we knew that Jackson Dart was going to be a little bit of a project. He was a little bit more of a raw prospect. He was more of a project prospect. That's what they got. They knew what they were getting into when they traded up for him. But there's a reason that Daboll liked him. And I think, if he can hone in on some of these things that we talked about, the indecisiveness, then Jackson Dart can be good, but that's a big if. But it's only day 2. Again, it's only day 2 as well.
I do want to go, we talked about the Jalen Hyatt touchdown, some other throws, the interception, just want to go through it. It was what looked to me like a 3-level read, and you saw he did a little shoulder fake into the flat, trying to bite the corner and get a hole shot. Predetermined look. I didn't even see where the receiver was doing, and it could have been the wide receiver doing the wrong thing as well, and just kind of threw it up. Trey Hawkins gets the interception on that play. Trey Hawkins, I had to explain the lore a little bit. Actually, no, I did it because you said you filled in a couple years ago where he went from like,
I filled in during the summer of Trey Hawkins.
Yeah, where he had one interception in one-on-ones. It was like, oh, that's cool, but it was against a bad receiver. And then it's like, oh no, day 3, this guy's like getting starter reps. And then day 5, it's like, yep, he's the starter week 1, and we're not looking back going forward.
I never moved out of Trey Hawkins Island, by the way. I still have property on there.
It was always about year 3 for Trey Hawkins, and I'm not saying I'm focused in on him, but he did have an interception today. He did look good in that one game he played in before he got that back injury. It was Trey Hawkins when you draft him. It was always like, all right, let's see what we have in year 3. So maybe you got a depth corner there, and see what you get out of him. Other offensive notes that we can go through. I do want to get excited and talk about Abdul Carter. Evan Neal, I didn't notice this yesterday, but he's working a little bit with the first team. I don't know if that's more just giving him an opportunity to get repetition there or an actual camp battle, but they at least have enough hope in Evan Neal to give him those reps, where if he was just a lost cause in their eyes, they wouldn't be giving him those snaps.
No doubt. And I think on a couple of those plays you saw, I can't remember exactly when it happened, but I noticed that on some of the plays that Evan Neal was in on first team, the middle opened up a little bit. So, I mean, I didn't have a really great vantage point as to what happened, to see if he was the one that created that hole or anything like that. But I did notice that I think it was a Devin Singletary rush up the middle. And I noticed that Evan Neal was in on it.
I'm excited to see when they get the pads on how this team is able to run the ball, because I do think they should lean on it a little more. Thomas Fidone had that.
Oh, that was awesome.
That one-handed catch in one-on-one drills, which was against Raheem Lane, and if a tight end's being covered like that, you're not actually throwing to it in a game. But it was just a nasty snag. And hell, even Greg Dulcich had that nice snag from was it Jameis Winston in the team drill. So those guys, Bellinger, the Russell Wilson touchdown in the red zone, he got a matchup with Cordell Flott, which for a tight end like Bellinger, that's not an easy matchup. He kind of plays into him, gives him not even a push off, just like kind of a shoulder off, breaks it in, and the ball was a little behind him, and he, Bellinger's good about just making a catch whenever it goes his way. So that was good to see him get that touchdown.
Fidone is such a he's like a lanky kind of dude too. You see him, he's so big, he's so tall, but you want to add a little more beef there. But no, that catch was really impressive. And then, like you said, the Bellinger thing too was as well.
Jalen Hyatt. Now we didn't really talk about him on that touchdown thing. That is what Jalen Hyatt does. He's able to win deep, and he's not just a run pass you guy. He actually does track the ball well to get back shoulders. I noticed, I was like, oh, Bo Collins is getting a first team rep. And I was like, you know what? I don't think Jalen Hyatt's gotten a single first team rep yet, but they did give Malik Nabers a little bit of blow on, the 4th or 5th series or whatever it was, and get Hyatt in there. No, didn't get any targets from Russ, but I'm still kind of out on Hyatt. They had a one-on-one with Deontay Banks, and he's running an end breaker, and Banks just presses him like, 4 or 5 yards in before he's able to break it. Russ throws the ball because it's a one-on-one, and he's not able to make the catch. But for me to get into Hyatt, I got to see him. I got to see them, involve him more with the first team, and again, get a target, because I don't think he's even gotten a target on the first team in 2 days, which he's only had like 5 or 7 snaps.
No, and I would say too, I was watching him a little bit when he got in on the first team. I would say the word I would use is marginally better as a route runner, but still that's going from really bad to still pretty dang bad. Yeah, and then I think the other thing we have to note about him is that he also went down with injury today. But then quickly, I think it ended up he went on the sidelines. He was getting stretched out by the trainer. Everything was like, oh man, this guy is seemingly all eyes are on him after this offseason, and finally gets in on the first team, and let's see what you can do. And then he gets injured. I think it ended up being just a cramp. That's I saw him get back up, put the helmet back on. I think he was okay towards the end of practice. But yeah, we'll be sure to ask to press Dable on that about that tomorrow.
Was there any other? I mean, we keep on forgetting to talk about Malik Nabers, or at least me personally, keep on forgetting to talk about Malik Nabers, because he's just. I don't want to keep saying the same thing every day, but he's like just so good as boring. One-on-ones were a show where he matched up with Paulson Adebo, and he put him on a slant where he smoked him on that. It's not like Adebo's like a top 5 corner in the NFL, but like he smoked him on that. And then that out route in the end zone, that's a hard route to run in one-on-ones. And the ball was a little late in a one-on-one, and he was still able to just turn, keep both feet, and get the touchdown on that. Where when that ball was like 10 yards away from the stands, I was like, oh, even if he catches this is out of bounds. And then I see your guys' clips, And I was like, he actually caught that inbounds. It wasn't just the referee giving him a touchdown because that's what the crowd wanted. So he can, like, he had what? 1, 2. He only had 2 catches in team drills today. They focus on some other stuff, but yeah. So Neighbors continues to just be excellent. What did you hear about the toe though? You said there was some odd
Yeah,
answers.
there's something fishy going on with the toe here. Okay, so yesterday Malik said, and I have it written down here. He's something kind of, something's a little weird here. Yesterday Malik said that there's been talk about surgery with his toe, but and then when he was asked about how long he expects the pain to be there, he said, I don't know, time will tell. So that kind of got everyone's reporters' antennas up today. And then Brian Daboll did not exactly dispel any notions or quell anything. He was asked about it and he was real vague about it. And we all kind of expect Brian Daboll to be vague about things, but the word he used, he was like, he weirdly mentioned. I'm pulling up the transcript right here. He said, sorry, I had the dead air right now.
Just put the entire transcript in the comments.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I'm not going to get into the conversation about injuries, blah, blah, blah. And then he talked about setbacks. If he has any sort of setback, if he's extra sore, we can have a discussion with the training staff, with the doctors, the medical team, decide what's best. But he's good to go. And then Daboll interjected and he said, 3 days. Who knows in 3 days how it feels? If we need to pull back a little bit, that's the kind of plan. He says it's day to day. Look, I would not be overly concerned about it. I would have not been overly concerned about it had I not seen what happened in the spring. And this toe injury kind of came out of nowhere. And Daboll said it mysteriously happened when he was back at LSU, and it's been lingering pain for him for 2 years now. It's just one of those things that makes you feel a little like, okay, what's going on with this toe injury? Is this going to be one of those things where, if they have a winless start, if they go 0-6, is this going to be, hey, we're shutting Malik down for surgery? Because Daboll kept getting asked about surgery, and that's when he made the 3 days comment. And it was like, we'll see what happens. Maybe 3 days from now, something's going to be different. Look, I'm probably just reading too much into it, but something to keep an eye on.
Something to keep an eye on is this body armor I got in my hand, because this training camp lashing is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. Rewrite your routine and choose better with Body Armor. Give me some Body Armors in the chat. I want to look back at the chat and see 9 million messages just saying Body Armor. Body Armor is real hydration with electrolytes, coconut water, and no artificial dyes. No artificial lives either. With great flavors like strawberry banana and orange mango. I told you I was going to have an orange mango on the bus today. Body Armor will level up your hydration game. Grab Body Armor Sports Drink today at your local grocery store. Body Armor. Choose better. I thought about being, a really great, sponsor for Body Armor, which I am. But, people that come up and want to take pictures and stuff, that if every single picture I'm in, I'm just holding a Body Armor, like a NASCAR driver. And so I got to figure out some type of deal with Body Armor where it's like every picture I take, I get, an extra, five, even if it's just like extra $5 with Body Armor. We'll see. But you'll be glad you did. Check out Body Armor. And again, if you guys there we go. We got Body Armors in the chat. Oh, and I keep on forgetting to say, because we haven't done live streams in a while, is you need to like and subscribe. So let's get some of the
like and subscribe.
Also, I got some new drops too. I got this from the Richard Childress Museum.
Pussy.
And then, all right, we're here live with New York Giants inside linebacker Tay Davis. I was in 2019 in 50-degree rain interviewing Tay Davis in the back of a Prius. Long story. All right, but let's get into the defense.
Good story.
We put him in the thumbnail. Abdul Carter was just sick today. Like I didn't want to focus in on the trenches until the pads get on, but today Abdul Carter was at 3-tech. I was like, oh, he's at 3-tech, and then he jumps off sides. I'm like, okay, whatever. They didn't put him on there the next play, but the rest of practice they kind of moved him around, and I think he had would-be sacks, and some of this was against the second team against JMS, where he had a really nice play where he beats JMS off the snap, spins, and then puts him on the ground. He beat a tight end for a sack. He beat one of the tackles for a sack. Or he put Marcus Bowe on his ass for a play too.
Completely bull rushed him. Yeah, it's crazy.
They're in the run game. There was, a couple of times where they handed the ball off, and Abdul Carter is just there at the handoff, which would have been a would-be tackle for a loss if they were tackling at this point. I went, day one, I was like, I didn't really notice Abdul Carter much. Day two was there. I can't wait for shoulder pads to be on or full pads to be on just because that's my favorite part of training camp. But I just cannot wait to have a day where it's like, I'm just going to watch Abdul Carter all day. I'm going to be having my phone out recording Abdul Carter all day because this is who's going to be the best player of the day.
He's a ridiculous freak of nature, man. That's exactly why they picked him third overall. That's exactly why since December I've been writing that they cannot pass on this kid, taking him third overall if he's there. Yeah, man. And seeing him at 3-tech, I mean, this guy really can do anything, right? Like, I feel like you can put him at middle linebacker. You could put him at 3-tech. You could have him spring off the edges. There was so much pressure today and yesterday that this, I mean, gosh, we already talked about this pass rush and how it's going to be a problem. But, like, I feel like you can plug and place Abdul Carter pretty much anywhere, and he will become a problem.
Right. Yeah, he's just so easy to watch. I was talking with Joe Davis, who was a former coach today, and he was saying it's just so easy. Like, you just can't pass up on this talent unless you have a quarterback that you just fully believe in that's going to be a franchise player. It's just even warming up, it's fun to watch him. Like, yeah, that's what we talked about yesterday. It was like warming up in the backflip that he did for the crowd. So I think he's going to be the star of this camp because Malik Nabers, we know what we have in him.
Mhm.
Last year, he was the star of camp. Russell Wilson, I don't think anybody has these delusions of like, this is a great quarterback who's going to take us back to the promised land. He's essentially a 1-year mercenary. Dart's not going to have that type of camp. I think Carter is going to be the star of this camp, and rightfully so. I mean, I thought he was the best player in the draft. He's your third overall pick. He should be the guy who gets the most attention.
He's the one. Yeah, I mean, Joe Shane is definitely like again. I think Joe Shane, if all fell right, I think he would have wanted Cam Ward. Obviously, he very much tried to trade up for Cam Ward. But I think the greatest consolation prize ever is getting Abdul Carter. Right? There's just no question about it.
And we're gonna get to your questions in a few minutes, so just kind of hold off on those. We'll do questions in the chat for the last 5 minutes. Position battles. Roy Robertson Harris was the starter with Dexter Lawrence, but they rotate that position like crazy. Corner 2, Banks went out with the first team to start. Then Flock got a couple series, and then Banks went back out there. I think that's about as open as a competition as you can get, and I really don't think we're going to get any clarity on it until towards the second half of these open practices, where they're opening the field up, and one of these guys is giving up like big passes or something, which maybe they both are locked down and don't do that. But I thought Banks looked good today, right? He had a very Darius Slayton ran a vertical. He was pressed him up, was right there in his hip pocket, and no catch for Slayton. So he had that one-on-one rep I talked about with Jalen Hyatt. So I haven't seen a ton of action for Deonte Banks, but I think he hasn't been a issue in camp, which I will say the last 2 years he's given up a lot of catches, especially early on.
That's what I'm saying too. Yeah, that's what I think what everybody really wanted to see from Deonte is obviously you want that sort of guy that creates turnovers, like we talked about, be a pirate. But for him to not really have that much attention, to not make any head scratching or sort of head turning plays in a bad way is a good thing. That he hasn't done that is a really good thing so far. I think he'll end up winning the competition. I know I saw one of those that question in the comments there, but just the fact that it's even a battle between him and Cordell Flott, I think proves that, again, they just want to push this guy that really needs a fire lit under him. So yeah, not much really to say about Banks so far, other than I think he's keeping it level in terms of his competition.
The other guy, I was a little bit serious, but not like full on serious. I was like, I'm going to pay attention to Nick Jones more, the backup slot corner, because he had the pick 6 on Jackson Dart.
Did the same thing as you, yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's pay. He's one of those guys that you don't pay attention to because he was on the Chiefs practice squad. So they signed him to a futures contract, and the week after the Super Bowl. So you just don't pay attention to those signings. Like you never do, unless it's a new regime and they sign. It's like their first signing or whatever. And then I was talking with Rich at Big Blue Huddle, and we're like, they don't really have like a backup slot corner. And then Nick Jones has that pick 6, and we're joking, oh, well, there's your backup slot corner. Well, today he did good in one-on-ones. He had a pass breakup on Amir Smith-Marset, who's working as like the number 2 slot wide receiver, which is another thing that they really don't have. And they even had a sack on a
Sack.
nickel blitz, which most nickel corners, if they can rush free, can rush
Right.
free. But like, I think he is a guy who, if you asked me to do my 53-man roster a month ago, I would have never even considered, to where now I might be slating him in as a 6 corner or whatever.
If you guys have ever done this, if you look at there's something where you can look at the Google search trends on Google. Like today, probably Hulk Hogan will spike up or whatever. Nick Jones, I'm serious, from the Giants press box, I think I saw so many people just Googling who this guy was. Yeah, he's definitely been a stud to start camp. Like you said, the nickel
I'm looking
blitz.
up Nick Jones just
Yeah.
to see what the top 5 tweets are.
The nickel blitz today was obviously, he goes unguarded, which is, it's to be expected, but and it kind of came as a shock, and it is obviously a little gimmicky, but this is a guy that I mean, he completely sprinted to, I think it was Wilson he sacked, or sorry, no, it was Dart that he sacked. Who did he sack?
I think it was Jackson.
It was
Dart.
Jackson Dart. Yeah.
I was not to get back on the Dart thing. I do the camp stats. I do feel a little dirty doing them, but I do, and it's one for me, and people like to see them. Dart has like clear sacks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not like there would be a sack, you threw the ball. Like, no, where it's like the play is dead because you're just not throwing the ball while you're getting 3 guys of would-be hits there.
You can even imagine the offensive and defensive line in these 7-on-7s, man. And
Yeah.
you could see the sacks that he's probably taken there.
And we said, like, with Russ, he does a good job of not putting you in that position to guess, where Jones was perfect at it, where it's that probably would have been a sack, but he hit a 25-yard pass or whatever it was. Dart has the clear, so clear, yep, that's a sack. I don't need to pretend that it would have been a completion or whatever. We were talking about Nick Jones.
No,
there is a Chiefs fan who did say his proper title is Super Bowl champion, Nick Jones. Ball State fans are friend zone. My friend Mr. Chicken, Nick Jones is this year's Trey Hawkins, and I ain't falling for it. Well, come on, Mr. Chicken, you got to fall for it a little bit.
I'll fall for it.
Yeah.
I'll get the Nick Jones feature this week. Don't you worry.
Oh, this I won't say it because I won't put you in a bad position. But there was one tweet from a reporter yesterday that annoyed the shit out of me. Let's see. All right, let's get to the chat. Any sense of the linebacker depth chart? So I noticed yesterday Deontay Johnson and Moasau were on there. Did you pay attention to that? I should have paid. I actually wrote down to put linebacker 2 for a position battle, and I forgot to even look at it. Do you?
Did
you take note of that?
No, I did not. And I'm a bad reporter.
I'm going to do that tomorrow.
Tomorrow, that is our goal,
Doug. I'm gonna give you guys a linebacker 2 because that's actually something I'm legitimately interested in.
With all the lack of position battles here, I mean, you might as well. We definitely should.
I haven't seen much of Corey Black lately. Well, again, another guy. Some of these comments are just pay attention to. He's gonna be my third every year. There's a third stringer. It's I'm just gonna watch you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might bake that Corey Black. Which hey, you're a Corey Black guy, Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
Has Theo been the taking most of the first team tight end snaps? We got a highlight from Fedoni, Bellinger, and Theo. So Theo is the tight end 1.
Yeah.
Manhurts gets a good amount of snaps here and there, and then Bellinger gets them too. Fedoni's not getting any first team snaps. So I do like that they're at least mixing Bellinger in, and sometimes when there's let's take a you got a guy who they might want to take a pay cut, all of a sudden it's oh, he's just not getting any run with the first team. So Bellinger is at least getting some of that. Let's see. So hit us with some questions.
I think if you do fantasy or whatever, I think buying stock into Theo Johnson this year, I would do it, man. I think that Russell Wilson really likes his tight ends, obviously, incorporates that a lot in his offense. I'd be interested to see what Brian Daboll does, or sorry, I guess Mike Kafka potentially does, with the tight ends this year.
You're up closer, so I want to ask you this question: what was Daboll like with Dart when Dart makes mistakes?
He goes up to him, and he doesn't lay into him as much as you'd think, with the viral Jones clips and stuff like that, obviously on the sideline. But those were high pressure situations during games. It's very much like a teaching kind of moment. That's how I would describe it. It's go over them, put the hand on the shoulder, put the hand on the helmet sometimes, and then, kind of instruct him what he's doing wrong. I really do get the sense that, and, this is speaking to a bunch of people close to him and everything like that, that Jackson Dart is a sponge. And I feel like you can kind of see that just by looking at the guy, you feel like he's all right, I'm going to learn from Russell Wilson. I'm going to learn from Brian Daboll. This is a sponge. And you know what? I feel like he's attached to Russell Wilson's hip every time. Obviously, they're quarterbacks. They're going to be around each other, but you could just tell he's peppering him with questions.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to ask you. I want to ask you this every day because training. I usually watch all the press conferences. Training camp, I just don't have the time to do it. Anything from press conferences from Dable or the players afterwards that stood out to you, besides the Neighbors toast stuff?
There was absolutely no takeaways from the players afterwards. I hate to say.
Who did you talk to today?
We talked to Tyler Nubin, we talked to Kayvon Thibodeau, and we talked to Darius Slayton. Now, granted, that there was a moment where I had to go off to the side because I was talking to Amir Smith-Marset for a story that I'm doing. Watch out for that. But no, I from what I gleaned, there was nothing really to take away. I mean, really, the only things that were of note today was one, the really just the Dayball presser, right? When he said what he said about Neighbors. I'm curious to see what is the future of that. But the flip side of that is Neighbors has just looked so dang dominant that like you can't really question if he's hurt or not.
Yeah.
Like, if he's hurt, then he's a ridiculous freak athlete.
Right. I just put your Twitter account in the comments. So everyone, I do a bad job of like having people on the show and stuff and not promoting them. So go follow Ryan. I mean, he's going to be covering, all of training camp on his own for NJ.com. That's where his daily write-ups are every day. So go make sure to do that and support him because he's helping us out a lot. All right. Anything less? How does Scatterbo, I feel like gets the most catches out of all the running backs.
Oh my gosh.
It just feels like he's just, and he's always wide open too. So, how does Carter's excitement compare to rookie Kayvon? We'll see when the pads get on, because once the pads got on, it really was only Kayvon was only beating Evan Neal, which at the time was like, yeah, iron sharpens iron, and now we're like, yeah, iron sharpens tinfoil. Dude, Dalen Cambry's been disappointing. He had a huge drop today.
Granted, the guy had like 70 yards in college.
I know. We're talking about him as a wide receiver. It is very funny. A guy who like didn't even get any guaranteed money as a UDFA, and me and you are like, we're fucking disappointed in this guy. Like, yeah, he's the literal 90th man on the roster. All right, that's stream again. Like and subscribe. We will see you guys tomorrow. Check out yesterday's if you haven't. And I'm going to finish every one of these with the Rooter Burnout video, so you guys can take the time to go check something out. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, let's go Big Blue.